IVM.
Some people think that Geek Fruits is a show about technology, but it's not. It's actually about us nerds. But if you are a tech head, that's a term I just invented for you, then you should definitely check out Shunya One, hosted by entrepreneur Shiladitya. It's a roundtable discussion about all the tech things you can find in India. Every week, check out the biggest headlines to dissect and discuss from tech, business, and the business of tech. That's Shunya One, every week on the IVM podcast app and anywhere you like to listen to podcasts. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Geek Fruit Podcast. I'm Tejas, with me is Jishnu. Hi Jishnu.
Hello.
Alright, so Jishnu, today we're talking about Black Mirror. I feel like, is this a filler episode? Are we just waiting for Spider-Man and we're talking about Black Mirror? Or we genuinely love Black Mirror.
I love Black Mirror.
Yeah, it's a great series.
I always really look forward to it because have you noticed it's the one show that really doesn't get much hype building up to it at all?
Oh no, of course it does.
Not anywhere compared to like other heavy hitters that Netflix puts
I will
out.
say that since they've started adding like bigger and bigger cast names to it, and I think then it's since then it's become a thing. I remember.
I just feel like I don't see it pop up as much like on my newsfeed and stuff about.
Maybe it's popping up on mine. I don't know. But the thing is that Miley Cyrus being on this season and stuff like that kind of made
it gets buzz like the
wave.
week of. All I'm saying is my point is that I really look forward to it because it's usually a surprise for me. I love the show, and every year pretty much there's been
there's more than
one
thing that they put out a year. I'll say that the moment it moved to Netflix is when it kind of started getting more and more because it was never on there. It was on iPlayer.
Like anyway, point is it's great. I love it. So let's get into it. So this is season 5, 3 episodes. It is following Bandersnatch, prior to which was a 7-season episode.
Yeah, disclaimer, I've not seen the previous season in its entirety.
That's fine. Yeah. The fun part about this is that it really doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter,
Which is great.
Well, does it?
It's just a different form. It's a different form of TV now, which is great. Like, it's one of the few
anthology
things that's staying true to it. And I love the fact that they haven't really given into too much of the multiverse building trends and that kind of stuff.
True.
Like I could have easily seen that
100% with you
become a thing. I'm just glad it's not.
Yeah, especially because they have a lot of like interfaces and technology things that could have been strung together, but they haven't chosen to.
They do a little bit with like in season 4, which is the previous full season. They had a couple of nods to things that you had seen in.
But that's all like Easter eggy stuff.
It makes zero difference to anything.
Cool.
Like, really, it's just for you to chuckle at, and that's all, which is great. So. 3 episodes, the first of this one being Striking Vipers. So, Anthony Mackie.
I love Anthony Mackie. That's why I saw it like immediately when it came out. Like Anthony Mackie's in something, I'm just like, okay, cool, I'm gonna watch it. He's in NBA 2K19. I was like, let me buy this game.
What is he doing in that again?
He's in the career mode. Like, you know how career modes in basically sports games have become very like immersive storylines and stuff. So Anthony Mackie
play as him.
No, you don't play as him. He's he's a featuring actor. Like he's like in the cast. That's how games are like becoming more and more like storyline based, including the sports games. So anyway. But so I immediately saw this. I mean, I love Black Mirror. I love Bandersnatch. I know I was in the minority for this, I think. Because I really love the concept. I loved how they executed it, and I loved how weird and dark and almost Donnie Darko-esque it was. So I love that. I didn't watch too much of the last season. I don't know why though. I'm not.
We have enough
sure.
things to watch.
That's probably it. There you go. Thanks.
Yeah.
Nail on head.
You weren't on that episode, so you didn't have to watch it. So it's a perfectly good reason to not watch it.
Yeah, no, but I feel like I would have. This is the kind of show I will catch up with at some point. Because I saw Black Mirror, I think, before it was on Netflix also. So it's not been like one of those things that, everybody's watching it, let me just like... I have been a Charlie Brooker fan. So I haven't seen that last season. Okay. But this one, 3 episodes, let's get into it.
So before we get into each one specifically, what is your... Prior to seeing these 3 episodes, what was your... where were you in the litmus scale of your sentiment toward Black Mirror? Are you fatigued? Or do you think that's keeping up with the Joneses, or you think they've sort of slipped? Because people have a couple of mixed opinions.
Yeah, I mean, okay, my most honest reaction sometimes to watching Black Mirror, some of the lesser episodes, I'll say, because there are some which are better than others. Yeah. But when I watch an episode like, I think it was called Shut Up and Dance or something like that.
Which one was that?
It was the one with Braun, the actor who plays Braun in yeah. And he basically,
what season is this?
This is the previous season.
Season 3.
We're on 5 right now.
We're on 5.
Yeah, so 3. The one which had the season which basically came to Netflix first. And the one with Bryce Dallas Howard and stuff like that. Anyway.
Oh, right, the one with San Junipero.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, okay. So now, for example, San Junipero highlight kind of episode at the same time. The lesser episodes, sometimes I watch them and I'm just like, my first reaction to Black Mirror is, I get it. Technology sucks. It's gonna kill us. Okay, I get it. But having said that, like, I still like what. I mean, I don't feel like enough people are talking about the downsides of the society
What's
right
happening?
now. Yeah, with Facebook and all that stuff. I mean, it's not been fictionalized all that much. We're still getting most of our films and stuff are still fantasy or superhero and stuff like that. There's not enough of this because there's a dark side to it. Like it's pretty. It is a downer. Like you said.
It is.
Yeah.
It
so,
is, yeah.
so it is not the easiest show. Yeah, it's not the easiest show to stomach all the time. Yeah. And it's difficult.
It's not a casual watch. It's not background viewing.
Having said that,
it's no Queer Eye.
It's not at all Queer Eye. But having said that, I felt like this season I liked a lot more because it's in some ways lighter than the previous. But I felt it was lighter, but I felt it was more watchable for those reasons. Like and I felt like the heart of it is stronger in these films, in these 3, than has been in a few others. Because I've never felt too much identification with some of the characters in the previous ones as much as I've felt in these new episodes. That's my...
That's because I think you're absolutely right. And I think for you and me specifically, and even for Dinkar, it is a little uncanny how close to home these 3 episodes are, because they're about social media peeps.
Yeah.
They're about... gamers and musicians.
Exactly.
That's literally the 3 things that we do.
That's true. I didn't think about it.
But for that reason,
maybe that's why. I guess.
But so for that reason, I'm going to work backwards. I'm going to work from the last episode, from the Miley Cyrus one, which I think is the one that probably has got the most buzz online any which way, because it's Miley, and she's gone full Monty with it. I think she's done performances of the actual song live and things like that. I could be wrong, but
she's done it in the show, so
I will say that was far and away my least favorite of the 3.
Correct, same.
And it was the one I had the hardest time stomaching because of the fact that we are so close to the subject matter.
Like, you know why, though? I feel like I know which scene did it for you. Can I say? Yeah, okay. There's one scene. Okay, now this is a problem about writing musical lingo and jargon in shows. There's one scene. So basically the story is, it's about Miley Cyrus. She's a pop star, manufactured kind of pop star, and she wants to rebel, but she's under the control and thumb of her manager. Yeah. So they kind of induce like a coma into her, and this is like this dark future where you can do this to pop stars.
I know you know exactly which scene I'm thinking about.
So this is why it sucks, right?
Go on.
So they do this. So the Black Mirror plot of this is that she's in this coma, but they can extract musical information from her head. There's one scene where they're basically at her bedside and they've got this little device on her, and there's a screen which looks like an iPad, and they're monitoring her brainwaves. And one guy looks at her.
This is so stupid.
Of course, that's the one that annoyed you.
There's one specific line of dialogue. I hope you got it.
He's just like, okay, that cluster over there, that looks like a G sharp.
I haven't guffawed in a long time, let me tell you. I stopped what I was doing. I had to put that show on pause. That's a G sharp. That looks like an A.
That looks like an A. I know, Jishnu.
It was amazing.
Obviously, that's the most disturbing future that I can see as a musician. Oh my God. Okay. You had to get over that little thing.
I had to watch it in 2 sittings. I couldn't take it seriously. I had to stop. I was like, screw this. Screw this.
Because it's weird. I'll tell you why that sticks out a lot more than anything else is because Everything in this show is pretty well researched.
Yeah,
it's pretty well...
It's plausible. Everything seems like... There's an episode in the previous season of like a little Roomba, that vacuum cleaning thing.
Yeah.
Having like knives coming out of it and then basically chasing people for 60 minutes around a city. And that's the whole plot. It's a toaster that comes to life and basically wants to kill everybody.
Right.
That seems plausible.
Yeah.
And then you go and say, that's a G-sharp. Let's make that an A. Like,
I mean, all the things, really. I mean, and this is the most high-tech version or the most evolved version of Shah Rukh Khan playing one-finger chords on a fake guitar in the middle of nowhere. So, so this is that. It's not acceptable as far as I'm concerned. I mean, I don't know how much it was relevant to the plot that they could do this. This technology does exist. So are we just being like sticklers for this?
Oh, yeah, totally. Yeah, I think it's just us being sticklers because there's plenty of things
that maybe like computer scientists will watch and say, "Oh, this is impossible."
Yeah, exactly. Some what's the word for eye doctor? An
ophthalmologist.
Ophthalmologist?
Yeah,
let's go with that.
Yeah,
they would probably say things about the episodes where they have like recording devices in people's eyes
and stuff. Yeah,
anyway,
fair enough.
But so
the ophthalmologist crowd.
That demographic is the main cash cow.
Yeah.
So let's flip it. So the good thing about that episode, though, which kind of holds true for all 3 episodes for me, which is why I really did like the season, was one thing I was missing from the previous season, which I did enjoy, the season 4, 7 episodes.
Right.
I really enjoyed that. It was hit or miss, as they usually are, but one thing that was missing, which I haven't really seen since probably season 2, season 1 definitely, season 2 a little bit, and now it's finally back in this one, is higher stakes within a very small contained narrative.
Yeah, I agree.
Season 3 and 4 kind of meandered a little bit in that they were trying to be a bit more existential, and therefore there wasn't a sense of urgency.
Yeah.
If you remember the very first episode that went on Netflix was the hostage situation. Not the hostage.
The Bryce Dallas Howard one.
No. The very first one from season 1.
Oh, season 1.
The
the Prime Minister one.
The Prime Minister one, right? Like that was great.
Arguably one of the best.
Absolutely, because it was a very simple action movie premise. Like I could easily see like Liam Neeson Taken 3 being that kind of a
but very
situation.
dark, right?
But super dark, and because of the, how do I put it? The sense of urgency is pretty obvious when it's a hostage situation or that kind of ransom type of deal. Plot-wise, it's pretty clear that okay, it's going to be high intensity, it's going to be fast pacing, it's going to be fine. But then I think they meshed it really well with something that was viscerally disturbing about the fact that he was talking about like having sex with an animal and things like that. So that level of just queasiness, which is a good feeling to have if you can handle it well, as opposed to just, unlike, say, my beloved Saw and Human Centipede, which is just gluttonous for the sake of being a glutton.
I'm yet to watch these movies.
You really need to. What I liked about that first season and even the second season a little bit was that it was good. It kept you thinking, but it was also making you feel uncomfortable at the same time. The uncomfortableness was kind of worth it. Okay. And in this season, episode 1 with VR gaming, going all over, like it was good because even though it was weird as all hell, like the minute you realize what's going on about the fact that it's 2 people having sex, homosexual sex technically, I guess, in a VR world, you're like, this is just bonkers. This is like something you wrote while you were high.
Exactly.
But it was poignant because
it's poignant because it's centered around characters that have it's actually a very human need. It's like about this whole, it's, for me it was like this whole monogamous thing that people have, and about this husband and wife. The wife has kind of, and there's a very important reason for having just the prologue of that film where they show them 10 years earlier.
Yeah.
It's like literally a scene where the two of them are at a club, they have sex, and they play video games, and that's it. Yeah. And it's like very short. You wonder why it's there, but it's really just to establish that they've grown older and they've all in relationships you all make like compromises and sacrifices for each other, and it's about that this guy's getting to do this, and it's a really nice arc, especially with his wife and stuff towards the end.
I did really like the wife.
But yeah, man, I think all 3 of these films, even though for example, the second, we'll discuss these in detail, but the one with Andrew Scott, I mean, the story, I mean, the plot that this guy's got to get in touch with, whoever, the company owner and stuff like that for whatever reason, is not insanely like, whoa, what a great insane concept. But the thing that sells it is the performance, the heart of the character. Absolutely. I love that kind of stuff because even though it's, it's not Black Mirror in the sense that, but check out this dystopian idea and all that stuff. But it is really the core of what the show is about. That, things like this kind of have huge consequences, even though it's like not as epically weird and somebody cycling to make credits or whatever. It's more about just the human element of it, which is amazing. I love that stuff.
Yeah.
And I think all three of them have variations of that. One is about, a relationship. The second one is about, the fact that this guilt and remorse that he feels, and he wants to just tell somebody. It's the person he happens to tell is the owner of the company that, is responsible. And the third one is about, I don't know that's why this third one is kind of, but I like the relationship between the two sisters. I think that's really nice.
The saving grace of that.
Yeah. And she's in Spider-Man. That's how I was just like, man, where have I seen this girl? Anyway, she's in Spider-Man. So really well acted. And that relationship is core for me. The Miley Cyrus thing is cool, and she does a great job and stuff like that. But for me, none of these are like the think pieces which are, this is what you need to think about Skynet or whatever. Yeah. It's more about the loss, or like the personal loss of like a larger tech kind of idea. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Maybe trying to trying to sit with the fact that you're a cog in a machine, and you're part of you're part of a much bigger machine that you can't really do much about.
Yeah,
you're just figure out how to make it work for yourself.
You're just like a small, you're right.
You're a cog in a big thing.
Not even, you're just like this, it's also like a lot of it's consumerism. Like, but just like the effect on one person is never going to be as, like for Facebook and all these companies and stuff, it's all like big metadata. You're just like an algorithm. You're just data to be put in an algorithm. This is like the very, if you just micro level into it, as opposed to the macro effect of it. Yeah. That's just what these stories are about. Which is why I kind of like this a lot, in a weird way. Like, it's not exactly how Black Mirror used to be.
It is definitely, it has evolved for sure.
Yeah, but
it's not the same. But
this is why
I'm okay with it. I think they've course corrected, and I like this new course correction.
I don't even know if this is a course correction. This is maybe like this. What it felt like? I was like, oh, cool. When you told me, like, dude, we gotta do Black Mirror. I was like, oh, cool. How many episodes? You were like 3. I was like, what? 3?
Yeah, exactly.
I think Charlie Brooker's just like they were like, hey man, Charlie, you need like where's the 10 episodes? No. 3.
Yeah.
And that's it. Yeah. He's just like, I've written 3 now, you take 3.
Good. You've done 3 good ones. Don't give me 7 shite ones.
Exactly. Yeah. So my point is that maybe the next season will be 10, 20 minutes. Like, there's no format for this, which is great. So these may be just 3 great episodes we'll not see again, or maybe this is the way.
It feels like watching. I said this about what was that? The animated anthology thing.
Love, Death,
Robots. Yeah. I said the same thing about that. It feels like I'm watching a bunch of short films on Vimeo.
Yeah.
But what I didn't like about Love, Death, Robots was that they weren't that amazing.
Yeah,
these films.
They were artistic, but
they were beautifully drawn,
amazingly crafted.
But the storytelling wasn't that great.
Yeah.
But I also said about that show is that the struggle with short film making is that it's really freaking hard to make a story that matters if it's limited to as little runtime as they get.
Also, did you say it was like a collection of like different people's work? It's not just one mind behind it, right?
Yeah. And in this one, the good thing about Black Mirror is that
he writes
an hour is, yes, for one, it's one person doing it, so that through line is very visible. An hour is also enough time to introduce us to a new set of characters, get us invested in them, and then give us a payoff. But what I really liked about the second one in particular, which kind of puts the second episode of the season in my top 3 for sure, is the fact that ending, the way it's played out, is beautifully poignant to the theme of that episode. Because a lot of short films don't end with closure, because they're usually just meant to be like, hey, we're going to introduce you to an idea. Here's something for you to think about. Here's a think piece, and then do what you want with that information. Right. And in this one, I like the fact that the whole premise of Andrew Scott's motive is that none of this matters. I'm being selfish right now because I want to be selfish. I've been cheated because my wife, was it, or girlfriend?
His wife, his fiance.
His fiance was taken away from him way too soon, so he just wants to be selfish for a moment and have his moment in the limelight. But he knows it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter, yeah.
And everybody just has to humor him until somebody pulls the trigger, somebody in this scene. And I love the fact that it just ends as such.
It doesn't need a close, an epilogue or something.
It just tells you, like, yep, he was right. And the world keeps spinning in its own messed up way.
Let's take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll just dive a little deeper into these episodes individually.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another awesome week on the IVM Podcast Network. If you're not following us on social media, please make sure you do. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. One more reminder, we are still hiring. We're looking for producers, content creators, audio engineers, developers, and basically all kinds of people. Go onto our careers page, ivmpodcast.com/careers, and apply. Please send us your resume, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. Also wanted to make a note to you all that, hey, if you are listening to us and you hear something you like, take a screenshot of what you're doing, send it to us on social media, tag us on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or wherever, and we'll repost you on our own page. This week, your favorite fitness podcaster, Urmi Kothari, is back with Season 2 of the Kinetic Living podcast. Urmi is doing 2 bite-sized episodes every week, Tabata Tuesdays, which will be a 4-minute workout, and a second called Thriving Thursdays, where Urmi will share motivating personal experiences or challenges she's faced. On Cyrus Says, actor and improviser Mukul Chadda talks to Cyrus about his central role in the Indian adaptation of The Office, the process of adapting the scripts, and how he went from being a research analyst in New York to an actor and improviser in Mumbai. On the first episode of Tech Careers in the New, presented by Accenture, Sheila Ditya is in conversation with Sanjeev Narsipur. He's the managing director and blockchain lead at Accenture Technology Services, and they talk about blockchain, its real-world practical applications, and what it takes to have a career in this space. On IVM Likes, IVM staffers delve deeper into the universe of independent and parallel cinema. On The Habit Coach, Ashton talks about never missing Mondays. He also talks about maintaining the momentum and owning that habit. On ATKT Talent 10, P-Man and Krupa are joined by Sai, a rapper, and Kala, a music producer and rapper. They talk about their ATKT journey, the first songs they composed and produced together, and collaborations with other rappers. On Not Just Dansak, Parsin talks to Roxanne Bambot and Maruk Mogrelia about immersive Parsi food experiences like Parsi food walks and home dining. On What a Player, Siddharth, Mikhail, and Akash review the previous week of the ongoing ICC Cricket World Cup, preview the upcoming week, along with some unusual predictions, and give out their What a Player of the Week. On the Pragati podcast, Pranay Kotasthane returns to help us understand how fiscal federalism works in India. And with that, let's continue on with your show.
Hey everybody, we're back. We're talking about Black Mirror, season 5. And a half. I don't know. Bandersnatch is a weird anomaly in this whole thing. But, so we were talking about how this season felt a lot more human. There was a lot more there was a bigger heart to the stories than there are in the others. Like, I feel like both of us could identify a lot more with the characters. We spoke about the third one. Yep. And that little fiasco of a guitar or whatever chord progression scene. Yeah. But let's quickly, what did you think of, what is the reality of that? Just humor me. What is the reality of pop music? Mm-hmm. Is that what they were trying to say? Because we've been seeing, how they brought back Tupac and Elvis through holograms and stuff like that live on stage and stuff. Mm-hmm. So was it more of a commentary on that or the music industry being fabricated through technology? I mean, it is in some way manufactured, but not in that sense.
You're not wrong. I mean, it's definitely a nod to that for sure, if not more so. But I kind of got more of the Rebecca Black, Milli Vanilli kind of things, where it's just
True.
Hey, somebody else decided that this song and this person or people is the way for us to make money. And we don't care what it takes and what we put this person through.
Did that. I mean, she wanted to be a pop star. And then, unfortunate for her.
That's the thing. Yeah. If you think about, my Milli Vanilli reference for people that might not get it was about these, what was they, a duo from the 90s that won a Grammy and then had the Grammy taken away because they were caught for lip syncing. Yes. Right? So they didn't actually do anything, but they were just a vessel for somebody somewhere, some studio head, some whoever to make money, right? And with the Rebecca Black case, or with people like her,
or any pop star which is being manufactured from the ground up,
like even Miley, I think it's incredibly relevant to have.
I mean, that's probably why the whole Hannah Montana thing as well.
Because I'm sure Miley's fully owning it. So
She's cool,
can't imagine she has many, if any, regrets.
The Glastonbury performance was a little subpar. Sorry.
Okay.
Just because Glastonbury's on.
No comment. Okay. Yeah. But I think if you look at people like Rebecca Black and other particularly kid pop stars, people that start really young, my question always is, they want to be entertainers, I'm sure. They want to be on stage, I'm sure. Anybody would like to have an opportunity to shine in whatever creative way they can. And if they're lucky enough, they recognize what they enjoy doing at a young age. But when it comes to putting Rebecca Black might have been 13, 14.
No, she was 16,
15,
I want to say.
16, not very old. My question is, did she really know what she was getting into?
I don't think
or
they
was
have too much
parents?
agency. They don't have that much agency.
Yeah, because it's like, is it the parents? I see it as the parents going like, hey, I want my kid to be my way of making money. And let me just put my kid in with the right people who will not give a goddamn about
you hear
any
that
integrity.
Horror story of like all these child actors as well, and they're fighting with their parents over the money, things like that.
Yeah.
So I think that's sad. But I think a lot of kids, I don't know, maybe I'm completely off base, but like I think kids are a lot more evolved now. Like if you take somebody like Billie Eilish right now, who's like also quite young, but she seems manufactured in that sense that she's built for the younger crowd. She's like weird. She's like alternative pop kind of weird thing. But she's also still like, I guess she's like 18 or something like that, or 19. So she's still very young. So I don't know how much she knows can be manipulated by other people.
Everything we're saying is completely hearsay. But what I took from it is the fact that it's so much easier to tempt in an innocent kid who has dreams, as everybody does, of being something big and conquering whatever field they want to conquer. Right. But then the things you have to give up, the things you have to sacrifice, the things you have to do, the hoops you have to jump through, the people you have to deal with, all the crap that you got to do, they're not going to really understand what it's going to take.
Right.
And so that's why you need a guide. And when the guide, like in this case of this third episode, the guide is a selfish bitch, then it doesn't matter. Also, and it's her aunt, right? Like somebody's taking advantage of that fact. And so I feel like I just saw the narrative speaking to the fact that this can so easily continue if technology continues the way it does, in which you can literally just, if you can
pull a cord from a head.
Yeah, literally pull a cord out of your butt and say like, hey, I think this combination works. I want this person's face associated with it because they look good next to this song or melody or this package, this brand, this identity. I don't care what the artist thinks. The artist is my machine.
Yeah.
As long as I just punch in the right combination of buttons, I get the song.
Yeah.
And now I just need a face to sell it. As opposed to...
I think that's a common thing. I mean, that's what boy bands essentially started off as.
Pretty much.
Like, I don't want to take anything away from the performers, so like maybe the pretty face is also really good at performing. That's why you can't have one without the other. But I'm saying compositionally, if you just want to get into it, I don't know if they write many of the songs. I mean, we've read enough articles that say every pop hit that we know takes like 7 or 8 writers or whatever.
I think there's nothing wrong with songs that. Nothing wrong with an artist not writing their own songs. I mean, if you go
Elvis,
back,
bro.
Go back to the era of like Frank and Elvis and those guys. Like they were crooners. They were not songwriters.
But they were performers.
They were performers, right?
Yeah.
So that's totally fine. But they knew what they were getting into. They said, "I will sing the hell out of the song. You just keep bringing me songs," and they were okay with that arrangement.
Yeah.
But when you have kids who are just being given like, hey, would you like to go literally in a day from your bedroom to singing in front of thousands of people?
But how different was Elvis from this? I mean, like, he was also like very young when he started, man. Like, he was in his, he was, 16, 17 years old or something when he started, in the 56 Elvis.
Yeah.
So I don't think, still the same story. Like, he doesn't really know what he's getting into.
There's nothing to say that it can't work. Like, the thing is, there's nothing wrong with it on paper. The problem is it can easily be abused.
Yeah.
And when you're abusing it, you're really abusing a person. You're abusing a person's
You're using them as
freedoms.
a vessel.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you're literally using them as a piece of meat to just be your way of making money because that's the thing that you being, and I'm using the word here, the word here, you, to imply the person who sort of signs off on said kid, going to record and put that stuff out, like the Guardian who actually.
But I feel like I don't know how much that has to do with. I mean, it's not very Black Mirror.
It's not.
But I think so. What do you think of the other aspects of the show? This AI, this robot, and stuff like that. I don't know what
that really lost me. Like that was very.
I was not really sure
uninteresting.
what that was
I didn't quite get
about.
that,
It was just like a means for the characters to meet the main character.
Yeah, that's why I said this was by far my least favorite of the three.
I was not really sure what the message is. And I know we're spoiling this, sorry, but she starts a punk band at the end.
Yeah, that, again, another moment where I let out
I was just like, why?
A belly laugh. I was like, she went indie, amazing, cool.
But that's not how that show would look.
Yeah.
And people would not attend it.
Yeah.
No, okay, if you told me, like, Taylor Swift is going to start a punk band, I would not attend it, even though I love punk music.
But people would go.
This is true.
When you're that level, we're assuming she was at that level, right? It's like, cool, do your solo thing. Like,
yeah, what are you, Robbie Williams? Anyway,
people went to go see, Nick Carter's solo thing.
Yes, we did.
Exactly.
Sorry.
So there you go.
Okay, cool.
Case in point.
Man, I always thought pop stars just wanna.
Have fun?
No, they just want to have a zig-a-zig but I don't know. I guess we're not very sure. Let's move on to the previous episode, which is the one we spoke about. It's called Smithereens. It's about a fictional company, something not unlike Facebook or Twitter or whatever. And people have profiles and things like that. And we find out that this main character has suffered a loss because of what seems like a very nominal incident. It's just like he was driving with his fiancée. He looked down at his phone to check his notifications and had a fatal crash for his wife at least. And that's it. And so he kidnaps somebody, and really holds him to ransom until he could speak with the owner of the company that he was looking at. And who's played by Topher Grace, which was a good surprise because I love Topher Grace. Though I feel like he's a classic hammer, he's ham central.
He knows exactly what he's doing.
But I thought they were going for like a Jared Leto type, and then he's just like Topher Grace. But I was just like, oh, okay, cool, whatever. It was fine. Like he played Eddie Brock from Spider-Man 3, essentially. But it was cool because there's like it kind of most of the episode is build up. And it really just like kind of climaxes with this one scene where he speaks to him on the phone, man, and it ends with him just saying, and I don't want to ruin obviously, but like he says like, okay, I've said my piece, and that's it. Like that's really what it's about. Where it's just like a little, because there's like a group therapy session that we see earlier, and one of the people there says, I noticed that you didn't speak, and he's like, I'm just waiting for the right moment.
Right. Yeah.
And basically that's what he was waiting for. He's just waiting to tell. Why is he waiting to tell the owner of the company, man? I don't know. I'm just like asking. What did you think? Like, why tell this guy over? Like, did he just want him to feel guilt, or just he want to kind of move him, or spring his conscience into action? I don't know what. I'm not sure what he wanted. He says also that I'm guilty. This was my fault.
Yeah.
But I just want to tell you. Why do you think he wanted to tell him?
I suppose it's the closest equivalent to like confession at a church.
Yeah,
and for somebody that clearly is not, if at all, spiritual or religious, I felt like I guess he needed like who can I tell this to that it would actually matter to them, as opposed to like I don't know why he just didn't tell a friend who he could confide in.
But it seems like the way they portray the character is that they find out that he doesn't have too many friends. His mother just passed away. He was his closest confidant. His fiancée is no longer there. So
I didn't linger too much on that point. It's a good point, but I think that's one of the great things about the episode is beautifully constructed in that the things that really stuck with me were just a myriad of little things that they let trickle through, which is, you're right, the plot is incredibly simple, as is most hostage-based
situations,
plots. I love the fact that, was it the CIA that they were on the phone with? The FBI?
FBI,
The FBI and the local British police were completely subverted by, I'm just going to say Facebook, by the Facebook people.
Yeah.
Because
Smithereens.
They really know. Oh, that's what it's called? Smithereens?
Yeah, that's
there you go. Okay. Because they all know, as we all do, we just don't really admit it to ourselves as often, that really the social media companies and your Googles and whatnot are really the ones that have everybody in their death grip, like by the nuts completely. And so I love the fact that you would think, oh, hostage situation, call the cops come by, and all it takes is for like one idiot with a cell phone and a Twitter account to immediately put you on the radar of the most important people in the world. Obviously, those important people have 7 billion other people blipping on their radar.
Right.
But then the minute that they decide you are worthy of our time, they can, like, they have you under their thumb.
Yeah, it's true. And he does that. He says, in the way they amass so much information before even the cops have it. Actually, that's the funniest part of it.
Brilliant. I love that. And therefore that grounds the fact that this guy, the hostage taker, knows that he wants to talk to the most powerful man in the world, basically.
Yeah, essentially, yeah.
It
was good. I like the scene, obviously, where he's speaking to him at the end, and like I like the fact that I don't know what this was supposed to kind of telegraph about the owner, the CEO of this company, but he's just like, I started this whole thing in my room or whatever, and I started to be this thing, and now it's not even mine anymore. Like, I don't even get a say in who or what does anything. He's like, these notifications are supposed made addictive, and things like that. He's like, yeah, I just say yes sir, 3 bags full to whoever, is in like branding and marketing.
Right.
And so I don't know, is that like, do you believe that to be kind of like true, that these companies are bigger than their owners at this point, or because they have shareholders or whatever? I don't know if that was, I don't know if that was like some kind of defense for these. This is the first time I've seen Black Mirror even partially defend its
antagonist.
Yeah, in that sense. Not that this guy has a shred of like humility or anything for us to kind of empathize with, but in that one moment it's just like, oh, okay, cool. I guess he's trying to make a statement, but I think it's futile, in some ways.
No, I think it works because it's the same defense that Zack Snyder gives when he messes up BVS. He's like, hey, I'm not the only one that made this movie, and like I had to do things because the studio and because the actors and because the Yeti, like his defense was defense. Topher Grace's defense was like, look, I started out as an artist who built a thing that was beautiful, and I had great big plans, and I was excited that people took me up on it. But then the more money that came to it, the more opinions, and the more opinions meant I had to give up power, so on and so forth, which is the age-old argument of anything. Everything starts beautifully, and then
you either die hero, live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
And in this case, villain. So boom.
Yeah, it was a great episode, man. I think Andrew Scott literally kind of lifts it from a mundane thing. I was
so excited to see him.
He's so good.
He's not in enough things.
He's not. He's in Fleabag apparently, which is excellent. I've not seen it yet, but he's an exceptional actor, performer. What is it like?
My God!
Like even obviously the scene at the end is obviously really poignant and it's really sad. But there's like another rant which he gives when he meets him under the tunnel under the bridge, and he's just like, your abs. So good. It felt so. I'm sure it was scripted, but the fact that he can deliver it like it's ad-libbed is like brilliant. It's just really, really well done. He's amazing. I love that guy. He's really awesome. Okay, first episode, Striking Vipers, the most weird one of them all.
Yeah.
Where the line, I f***ed a polar bear is in the script.
Right.
That is brilliant. I saw that it was on my Twitter feed and it said like, I thought, it's one of those things where people just change the subtitles to say something else. It's actually a thing in this. So basically the episode is about 2 old friends like we mentioned earlier, Anthony Mackie and the other guy who plays Black Manta in Aquaman, I can't remember. Yeah, Abdul Mateen, yes. I think.
Okay.
So basically both of them are bros. One has become town mouse, one is country mouse. One lives like so Anthony Mackie's character lives a very suburban lifestyle with his wife, has a kid, has not kept himself in the best shape since he, got married, things like that. On the other side of the equation is Abdul Mateen's character, who is like this single guy, man about town, killing it, sleeping with chicks. He's just being a dude and whatever. And both of them meet after many years at his birthday party, and he gives him this game, and now obviously technology is improved. So now the gaming capabilities are that something very similar to San Junipero, where they just put a little. Is it the same piece of device? I don't know. Anyway, so they basically place them on the temples of their heads, and they are immersed into the game. It's like VR on crack on VR. Anyway, so basically, so they're in the game, and it's a fighting game like Mortal Kombat or Tekken or whatever, and one of them is playing like this a female character, one's playing a male character, and they end up having sex. Instead of fighting, they just start making out, and one thing leads to another, and boom, they have a digital relationship in this game. And it's kind of like they're cheating on, he's cheating on his spouse, Anthony Mackie, because they go into this game specifically for that reason. They don't fight, they don't play any other rounds, they just do it. Bizarre. Absolutely bizarre. So another cool thing about this episode is that I thought this was quite interesting because they do this a lot and they are trying to explore their own feelings. I was like, oh my God, these like closeted individuals, are they secretly homosexual? But they test that out. It's really actually well acted. It's so realistic. Brilliant. He just goes up to him like later on in the episode. He's like, yo, we gotta meet. But he's like, no, I can't do this anymore. No, we gotta meet. So they meet and he's like, okay, man, there's only one way we can find out. He's like, you have to kiss me right now. And they kiss and nothing happens. And that's insane. Because if it was, then they were like, okay, cool. They're just closeted homosexuals, and now they're aware, or they're bisexual, or whatever it is, and they're aware. And this long, lost bromance is now materialized, but it's not the case. It's just in the game, which is what EA Sports' next game should be. But
it's gonna happen.
It's bizarre. So this is an interesting concept. I think it stems from a lot of like online communities, where you play RPGs that are multiplayer or anything like any game which has a multiplayer, you can have relationships. And when I say that, I mean like know people without ever meeting them in real life. And you can know them for decades. They could be your sparring partner, or they could be part of your team when you do skirmishes in like in any of the MMORPGs. So this is kind of like that, but this is taking it to a whole new level. And I suppose Black Mirror is really kind of eliciting the idea that what if you could have, or basically what you could have a secret like relationship inside a game, which is with characters who don't necessarily need to have your sexual orientation, but you can have a different one in the game. It's insane. It's mad.
So I thought it was basically just a metaphor on vices.
Yeah,
which was
essentially,
which it took me a while to get. The whole time through, like you, like I'm sure everybody else, I was wondering about. So is this just basically a thing on being closeted? Is this just a thing about like finding out about your own self and your own preferences and orientation and all that kind of stuff? Right. But then by the end of it, the fact that when she finds out what's going on at the very, very end of it, and then they decide, okay, I'm going to keep playing my game with my guy and do my thing.
Yeah.
And she says, cool, then I get to go out like once, however often they do it.
Yeah.
And she gets to go have her fun with...
And she takes off her wedding ring very symbolically.
Basically, and she gets to go have sex with whoever she wants.
Yeah.
The fact that they're okay with that relationship, understanding that they have, I took it kind of as like, okay, so you basically have to make a relationship work, you need to be aware of each other's vices and each other's things and like respect each other's personal space.
Yeah.
And think of it as like, if it's like you said, it's VR on crack, right? So it's the equivalent of like, hey, I need to take time away from you where I can go do my thing.
Yeah.
Now, 20 years ago, it would be Tim Allen on Home Improvement playing poker with the boys.
Yeah, Al.
With Al.
Yeah.
But this is Tim Allen playing poker with the boys, and they tend to have digital sex sometimes.
Oh God, you just ruined Home Improvement,
right? But if Pam is okay with it, was that her name? Pam? Yeah. Patricia? Pam? His wife.
Oh, his wife, Patricia.
But yeah.
And Heidi is in the game, in the show. Cool time.
Right.
Yeah.
Point is, it's like, it's basically if you went and did your own thing, had your own fun with your guys, and your wife was cool with it, knowing it's boys' night, you guys doing your own thing.
But tell me one thing.
But you're not hurting anybody. That's the important thing.
But here's my thing.
So long as you're okay with that.
How do you think? And this is my main question, really.
Yeah.
I am not like. I don't have any like complicated thoughts on monogamy versus being, polyamorous or whatever it is. Do whatever suits you and however you want to do it. But do you think it's the same? That's really the question. Is it the same that this guy goes into the game and has like a virtual kind of relationship with somebody, which is essentially like porn, but you're in it, as opposed to his wife, who is in the real world, literally just having a physical relationship with somebody else?
Okay, so good question.
Yeah.
To me,
yes,
it's a good question. To me personally, no, I don't think it's fair. I think it is a it is a very different.
I don't know who it's fair or not.
Because I think I think it's just a matter of stakes. It's like with her, she's meeting a different individual potentially every time, and developing new relationships which could overshadow her current relationship with Anthony Mackie. Anthony Mackie is coming back to the same thing again and again, and he's repetitive, which is what porn is, right? And so the only thing they're going to do to spice things up between Yaya and Mackie are that maybe this time you be the polar bear. Right? But at the end of the day, it's just the two of them, and they're staying there.
I don't know if consistency is what it does.
But here's the thing. Yeah. What I think the reason it's okay is the fact that they both know what cards they're holding.
Exactly. And both are okay with it.
And and I think that's the point. The point of this entire episode is that it's a weird fever dream of like polar bear sex in VR. But if you put that aside, it's just about a relationship where both partners need to be aware and honest with each other about what is going on with them and what they need to do on their own time.
Yeah.
And as long as you're okay with what the other guy is doing, they're now in a polyamorous relationship. If you're cool with that, great. If you're not cool with that, then say something. And then don't do it and respect the other person's thing.
I think you're right. I think that both of them are okay with it. It's fine.
Yeah, so it's fine.
But I don't think that, I don't know. And here's the thing. I don't know whether how realistic or how immersive VR or technology will become that it's almost indistinguishable from real life, if we're not already in one, like the Matrix. But the point is that, if that becomes to such a level, then maybe the stakes are the same in some form of fashion. But we don't know that yet. So it's like, for me, it's just like, this is weird. But they have agreed to it, so I think that's fine.
I think that's
the point,
That's why I'm saying, like, this season really stuck the landing for me, because the very end of at least the first 2 episodes, not the third one so much, but the first 2 episodes, the very, very ending, literally the final like 60 seconds of the episodes, where actually I think they were both in credit sequences, in like outro credit sequences.
They have, both.
Where you see sort of the epilogue of the aftermath of what's happened, dealt with beautifully. It's just like, cool, we are now just kind of going to reset ourselves, we're going to come back to zero and just accept everything that's happened and move on with it, and just readjust ourselves and say, like, all right, we now know more than we do. We've learned from our mistakes. Let's move on. And it's all chill, which is about as satisfying an ending as I could hope to get from a Black Mirror episode.
I agree.
Like, there hasn't been, apart from San Junipero and like the very first episode on the very first season, I haven't got as strong a sense of closure. With these ones.
I think there's you're right. I think there's the point of Black Mirror has always been like, leaves you unsettled kind of, and these surprisingly give you some kind of cathartic feeling at the end, which is cool. Actually, I'm surprised. I'm pleasantly surprised. Because I don't want to say
they got a happy ending, but they got a definitive ending.
A definitive ending, and the idea that shove this like, technology is gonna kill you all the time, even though it's just one show really, but it's so like investing, and so you get really into it. But I like that you can tell us that society is going down the drain and still give us an ending, and then that's nice. I like to consider it that way. Like Junipero is like one of the few episodes that gives you like a semi quasi kind of happy ending in some regard, but like these were really nice, even though they don't have, it's sad, but it's like it's poignant. Cool. So that's Black Mirror. Tell us what you thought. You can write to us, contactgeekfruit@gmail.com. The next person who writes us a nice bullet pointed email will get a Geek Fruit t-shirt.
Huh?
Yes.
Oh, shit.
I'm doing it.
I'm sending some mails.
Yes. Okay, no, you are allowed. You have to. Okay, cool. So send us your mail. Send us your thoughts on Black Mirror. Any of the episodes that we've done in the last 6 to 8 weeks, because we had some big ones. We've had Avengers. We have had Captain Marvel. Actually, no, that was not 6 weeks ago.
Like a while
but
ago.
Avengers. We have had Toy Story, Aladdin, and things like that. Let us know what you thought about these, and give us your best. The best email will win a Geek Fruit t-shirt. And
email.
Yeah, the best email.
How do we
subjective?
rank these emails?
Bullet points, and give me a thought that we have, like,
So are you saying more bullet points is a better email?
No, I'm not saying. I'm saying bullet points are appreciated, but a theory that we haven't really thought of, maybe an interesting hot take, maybe a not news. I don't know, Jishnu, but one of them will win a Geek Fruit t-shirt, and we will take a photograph with you in it. I'm just throwing these things out. I don't know why.
Damn, son.
I hope you're from Bombay.
Big.
I hope you're from Bombay.
Shit.
But send us an email, contactgeekfruit@gmail.com, or you can find us on all social media at GeekFruitHQ on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, but nah.
Snapchat.
No.
It's there.
It's there?
It should be.
Don't send your email through that.
It should be there.
But let us know your thoughts. Thank you, Jishnu.
I hope it's there.
See you next week. We have a very special episode coming next week for Spider-Man Far From Home.
I forgot what the password is.
Stay tuned.
It's there. Snapchat exists.
Polar Bear Sex.
Every week comes a show where 3 people come together to tell you about stuff they like. A movie, a TV show, a book, and other stuff. Tune in every Monday on the IVM Podcast app to IVM Likes. Batman approves this message. Thank you, Batman.
Hi, I'm Anupam Gupta, B50 on Twitter, and listen into the Equity Sahiya podcast brought to you by Motilal Oswal Asset Management Company. The Equity Sahiya podcast offers deep investment insights into the potential of many sectors in India which are growing and have a lot to offer for your portfolio. New episodes out every Tuesday on the IVM Podcast app or any other app where you get your podcasts from.